But before we get started, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my equipment. This particular guitar right here was made for me by Mike McGuire at Valley Arts Guitar, who's made several guitars for me, and they're all custom made to my specifications. This is a quilted maple top, and I use a gold Floyd Rose tailpiece and nut. And right here I've got EMG pickups that were wound for me special at the factory. I've always had a real good relationship with these people, and I really like these pickups a lot. And I spent a lot of time trying to find this piece of wood and everything like that. You know, we went through a lot of different guitars, a lot of different bodies. And I found that for me, this stuff works great. I have several guitars, something like, I don't know, just a lot of guitars. And I like old Les Pauls, old Fender stuff, and so I've used some Ibanez stuff. But for me, I've grown really attached to this particular guitar right here, just because it's very versatile. I have my single coil pickups here, and I have my double, like my humbucking type right here, which I use for like the more distorted sounds. And this is for like the cleaner rhythm things, you know. I really like that like old Axis Bold as Love sort of style that Jimi Hendrix used to use. Through the years I've experimented with a lot of different equipment and a lot of different amplification and effects and whatnot. And right now the setup that I have now was designed by Bob Bradshaw, who's currently on the road with me, working very closely and as we speak improving my gear. Because this is a kind of process that always never ends, you know what I mean? You know, for me, every time I buy a piece of gear, the next day something comes out that's a lot better and a lot cheaper. So this is one of those things I'm sure everyone out there has dealt with. You know, you don't want to rush out and get the newest piece of gear because you're afraid that 2 days later it's going to be outdated. Some of the gear that I've been using here, right now I have all these effects, and I'm running everything. It's a stereo system, and I have a clean system, which is basically these boogie tops over here, these big, I believe they're 180 watts a piece, are like my basic sound, and that's set up real clean. And the reason why I have that much power is so that when I play loud, I don't break up. You know, I don't get this, unwanted distortion, not the kind of distortion that we would normally use to get a good sound. It's a different kind of distortion. And I use this boogie top right here, this 100-watt top, to put almost like a gigantic glorified fuzz tone, because it doesn't go to a speaker system. It has load resistors in the back. Which, so if you don't have a speaker system to go to, you blow the top up. I process a lot of my effects through this Rain splitter mixer, and I can assign and adjust the level, and I can pan my effects either left, right, center, or in between there. You know, like if I'm panning it using an echo effect, and like this, I'll show you. You're not hearing in stereo right now, but I realize that. But if you were sitting in this room right now, you'd hear the echoes cross. And if they're set at a different level, like one slow and one a little faster, it widens the sound a lot. I happen to love Grease on my guitar, Grease being effects and whatnot. Just because, when you're hitting one note, it just sustains and sounds real good. Like in a recording studio, you would add these effects, like reverb and whatnot. Just, when a lot of your favorite records, I'm sure the guitar players you use a lot of these effects, and you've heard them or you experiment with them yourself at home. This stuff is necessary to reproduce live what you would do on an album, and that's why I have so much of this gear. I mean, it's not a necessity to be a great player by having a bunch of great equipment, because that doesn't mean anything. You can have just a box with strings on it and be a great player. I happen to toy with this stuff just because I love to toy with it. Here's a little demonstration. Right now I'm using, on this particular sound, I'm using the CS5 made by Ditronics. It's a tri-stereo chorus, which has 3 choruses in one. You have a chorus on your right side, you have a chorus on your middle, and a chorus on your left side. As well as what you just heard, I'm using 2 Roland 3000 digital delays, set at different speeds, varying on the song that I would do. But as a rule, I always use all this stuff just because, I've used it on the records and I just like the way it sounds. You could use different things. There's different delay units out there. Everybody has their idea of what the best stuff is. This is just stuff I've gone through the years, and I've used the Ibanez stuff. Their effects are real good. Eventide. This is a digital reverb, an MXR digital reverb, which I found for the money for what I need live. Most of the time in the studio, I would use whatever the reverb they have there, because they usually have great EMT plates or EMT digital stuff, or the AMS stuff is really good too. But some of that stuff is just ridiculous and unaffordable to take out on the road, because $10,000 for a reverb, it seems a little silly for a guitar player. Like if you're a vocalist, that's another story. Or if you just want to piss away your money, that's fine too. You can do that. I have done this. This is why I'm telling you not to do that. The system I'm using here on the floor was designed by Bob Bradshaw. It's a very versatile setup, and it has 9 banks of 4 preset. It's like digital memory. So in other words, I can program any different effect. If I hit one button, I can radically change the sound, instead of usually like where you have to like jump on like all over the place here like this, trying to change your sound from like a hip lead sound to a rhythm sound. This way you only have to hit one button to go from your clean sound and then to your dirty sound and whatnot, any other effects that you want to add, like additional like distortion, or some of the other things. I have an old Univibe in here, which is pretty much outdated, which I've affectionately renamed the Sex Box. Don't ask me why, I just have a weird sense of humor. But all this stuff is just for the ease and expediency of playing live and making this stuff work. And in the studio too, going from a clean to a dirty sound.